Hey guys, Haz here at Shield Canine, and today we are going to talk about drive, specifically drive in dogs. So for the purposes of this conversation, drive is the internal desire a dog has to obtain a specific resource or tangible outcome. Now, I know that might be a little bit confusing to some of you, and you'll see kind of why I defined it that way as I get into my more detailed description of the different types of drives that there are. But suffice to say, resource could be food, could be toy, right? And a tangible outcome could be engagement with the handler. And there are different types of drive, as I'm about to discuss. So a lot of people talk about drive. You see a lot of discussion about a dog's drive. This dog's high drive, this dog's low drive. Is my dog high drive? And I'm here to answer those questions today. I want you to really understand what drive is in dogs. So the first thing I want to say before we really get into the nitty-gritty of what drive is when most people talk about the drive of a dog, what they're really referring to is the dog's drive, the dog's desire to engage with and interact with toys. And this is actually a facet of prey drive. Now, prey drive, I have a whole separate video on prey drive where I get into the deep, dark depths of what prey drive truly is and all the different components of prey drive. But suffice to say, that is what most people are talking about. But for me, there are 4 drives that I actually speak about when I'm talking about a dog's drive. These are the 4 drives that I really consider when I'm evaluating what a dog's drive truly is. So the first is the dog's food drive. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, what are you talking about? Every dog has food drive. Yeah, every dog needs to eat in order to survive, but there are some dogs that truly love food. They'll literally jump off a cliff if you throw a hot dog over it, and there are some dogs that could kind of take it or leave it. So food drive is definitely a drive that we must consider, especially when we're selecting a dog for trainability, a dog for doing cooperative work with, because a lot of people like to use food drive when they're shaping training. Right? When they're shaping a dog into various behaviors, when they're teaching a dog how to do things, a lot of people love to use food in order to motivate and teach the dog what it is that they want the dog to do. Dogs that have low food drive, obviously this can be more complicated. You might need to use alternative methods to teach that dog what it is that you want him or her to be able to do. Good thing for you, our training programs will show you how to train with food and also how to train without food. No recall? Does your dog have selective hearing? Does he chase cars, bikes, or other dogs? Train a bulletproof recall fast and get your dog enjoying off-leash freedom everywhere. For good dog training that actually works, think shieldcanineonline.com. Next up, we have prey drive, right? Now again, as I already mentioned, most people when they're thinking about prey drive, they're thinking about the drive a dog has to chase small animals. But really, when you look at dogs that have high drive for toys, whether it's a tug, whether it's a flirt pole, whether it's a ball, right? These dogs are actually exhibiting prey drive. We've just selected dogs that are able to transfer that drive they have for chasing small or sometimes large animals over to objects like a ball, like a tug, so on and so forth. For me, prey drive and toy drive, they are the same. Now, don't get me wrong. There are certainly dogs that are willing to chase small animals and have a very high drive and desire to chase small animals that have very low drive or interest to pursue a toy, right? And they will not engage with a toy the same way they will engage with a small animal. Gage here, for instance, he likes both. He'll chase a squirrel and he'll chase a ball exactly the same way. But this isn't because the dog that will only chase small animals has low drive versus the dog that will chase a ball and small animals. And by the way, I've seen it the other way, I should mention. I've certainly seen dogs that will chase a ball and a tug with 110% commitment that really actually don't care about small animals. So it's an interesting thing. Both these dogs have prey drive. They're just genetically oriented to channel that drive in different ways, but it is fundamentally prey drive. Next up, we have pack drive. Now, this is a drive that I think a lot of people don't talk about. They don't really understand it. Pack drive is a dog's willingness and desire to work with the handler. How much does the dog want to please you? Is that his goal when it comes to the interaction? Is that truly intrinsically rewarding for him? A lot of dogs are working with you in order to get something. They're working with you in order to get food. They're working with you in order to get a ball or whatever else. Is that truly pack drive? In many cases, no, it's not. It's a transactional thing where the dog's working with you in order to get something that you have. True pack drive, the dog gets a lot of internal satisfaction out of working with you, regardless of whether or not you're giving him something. I think that's something that people often mischaracterize as biddability, right? They'll say, oh, that dog's really biddable and that dog isn't. And what they just mean is, hey, that dog's a lot more independent and he doesn't want to work unless he perceives that there's something in it for him, whereas that dog will work for you very easily, just for you, right? Because that interaction for him in and of itself is intrinsically rewarding. And pack drive can be present. You'll tend to see it a lot in dogs like the Border Collie that are intentionally bred for that drive because it makes handling them and dealing with them, especially when they're off leash at a distance, very, very easy. And then of course you'll see it in German Shepherds and other working and herding breeds. Last, there is defensive drive, okay? The dog's drive to perceive a threat, the dog's drive to perceive a threat and to react to it, right? And that doesn't mean that it's an actual threat, right? A lot of people kind of get that twisted. They think, oh, like the dog is gonna be able to perceive what is a legitimate threat and he's gonna have a high drive to react to it. No, that's actually not the case. These dogs that I would say have high defensive drive are actually perceiving threats anywhere and everywhere. They tend to be a little bit more on the paranoid side. And they just have a very high desire to locate a threat and react to it in a defensive manner, right? So usually a lot of barking, a big show, so on and so forth. This drive can be used in protection work if you know what you're doing. This drive is very useful for guardian type breeds, dogs like Mollisers, dogs like livestock guardians, whose job it is to watch over a certain area or livestock and basically keep anything and everything, whether it's an animal or a strange human, away. And that paranoia, which is basically what it is, where they're like, something's moving, something's different, let me react to it, whoa, 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 right? That defensive drive is actually very useful in those breeds for allowing them to do their job the way that they need to. All right, guys, so we just talked about the 4 drives as I define them. Now, I know some people might say, well, Haz, you forgot hunting drive. For me, hunt drive and prey are the same, right? It's simply a facet of prey drive. Again, feel free to check out my detailed half-hour video in which I get into the deep depths of what prey drive is. In fact, I'll link that video right there. So for me, hunt drive is not considered a separate drive from prey drive. All right, guys, so obviously talking has some value, but now I think it's time to show you. So I'm about to show you 3 dogs, one with low drive, one with high drive, and one with extreme drive, I should say. And they're gonna be from working breeds. The first dog's gonna be a Malinois. Yeah, a low drive Malinois, I said it. The next one's gonna be a working line German Shepherd, and the third one's gonna be a working line German Shepherd. I'm gonna give you guys real world examples, and I'm gonna talk to you guys a little bit about how to evaluate whether a dog is, you know, low, medium, high, or extreme. No good dog training nearby? No time for weekly classes? Fast, effective dog training that you can do from home during your daily walks. No extra time, and it actually works. Train with the best trainers in the world remotely. ShieldCanineOnline.com. All right, guys, so this is Gizmo. Gizmo is, as you can see, a high-energy Belgian Malinois, and this is actually a dog with low drive. Even considering the breed, this is what I would consider to be low drive. And this is after attempting to play with him a number of times. You can see that there is some interest in the ball, but his natural internal drive for the ball is minimal, right? You do not see a lot there. And believe me when I say you'll see 8-week-old puppies that show way more drive than this for a ball. Drive in its purest form is truly an internal state. And a lot of people confuse energy with drive. And as you can see, he's a Belgian Malinois. This is a high energy breed. It's also a breed that is generally thought of to have high drive. But I'm not surprised. I've seen a lot of Belgian Malinois that don't have high drive, right? They have neurotic behavior, they have high energy behavior, but they don't actually have true drive, whether it's for food, whether it's for prey, objects like a ball, even pack drive, right, to work with the handler, defensive drive, all the drives that we just talked about. I've seen dogs that are members of breeds that are perceived to be high in one or more of those drives show actually what you see here with Gizmo. Happy-go-lucky guy, but could care less about a ball. And that's why I'm doing this video, guys. I want you guys to truly understand what drive in dogs is. A lot of people associate drive with energy level. They associate drive with a specific breed. And those are not necessarily true things. I've actually seen a lot of dogs that are really high in drive for prey objects like a ball, a tug, so on and so forth. Really high drive for food, but are actually really chill dogs in normal life when they're not doing anything. They actually fairly what I would consider to be low energy dogs. So drive and energy and activity level are not always coinciding with one another. And I really want you guys to understand what drive is in the truest sense of the word when we're talking about dogs and a dog's drive levels. Don't get me wrong, with this dog, I could make him look like he has high drive. You give us enough time with Gizmo, we'll get him playing tug with a ball, we'll get him engaging with the ball and with the handler, and we can make the appearance that the dog has drive, and using the methods that we go over in our power play course, you can certainly get a dog that starts out like Gizmo here to show all the behaviors that a lot of people associate with high drive, to be able to play intensely with the toy, so on and so forth. But in the truest sense of the word, does Gizmo have high drive if we have to manufacture it? No, he does not. Okay, guys, so for the next dog, we are going to be showing you a high drive dog. This is a dog that I would consider to be high drive. So I'm going to give him his ball, and then we're going to talk about the elements of what I think makes a dog high drive, and just how we can generally evaluate whether drive is high or not. So you can already see that this dog has a lot of interest in the object. You can see he has a lot of interest in the object. Down, out. A lot of intensity around the object. You notice that he does not look at me, he looks at the object. Right? So let's talk about the elements of drive. So I want you to notice immediately with this dog a couple of things. Number one, I am no longer playing with the ball. He has the ball and he is possessing and retaining the ball, right? If I try to take the ball away from him, you'll see already arousal in his body language, some stiffness. I can't get this out of his mouth, right? Down, right? So there's a lot of possession, there's a lot of retention. For me, true drive, right? If we're to say a dog has high drive, I want to see that possession and that retention. The other thing that I want to see, out. Out. As you can see, a lot of possession, a lot of retention. The other thing that I want to see is that the dog has a lot of drive for the object when it's separate from the man, okay? When it's separate from the handler. So what you have to understand about drive is true drive is an internal state in the dog. What I mean by that is the dog should have interest in the object without me doing all of this. A lot of people make the mistake of confusing play drive, right? The drive that the dog has to interact with me, and maybe us making this a focal point of that interaction, with true drive. Play drive and prey drive, right? Especially drive for objects, are not the same, all right? And remember, object drive is a facet of prey drive, right? So if I was to say this dog has really high prey, but he would only engage with the ball if me and him were playing with it, he wouldn't hunt for it, he wouldn't show interest in it if I wasn't doing anything with it, then we wouldn't say that the dog has high drive, right? So when we're looking at prey drive and we're looking at evaluating drive in a dog, I look at several components. We must have hunt, we must have arousal, we must have pursuit, and we must have possession and retention. So what you guys just saw there, where the dog was fighting me for the toy, for even when the dog was on the ground, that he was retaining the toy and possessing the toy, right? That is possession and retention. Hunt, I'm going to show you guys right now. The other facet of drive, true drive, is that the dog is willing to hunt, right? So I'm going to take this, I'm going to throw this up into the attic. Again, something I've actually never done with Gage, because he's not a police dog. I never really needed to do this type of stuff. And he's going to have to run up these sketchy stairs and go search the attic for this ball. So, go find it. And as you can see, somewhat, You can see that the dog is searching for the ball. He's looking for it. He's like, where is it? I actually don't even know where it went. We have a whole bunch of stuff up there, and I want to see that the dog's willing to climb over things, to use his nose, and to hunt that ball down. Did it fall down somewhere? Oh, I think it fell down on the furnace. I can actually see it. So guys, the ball actually fell off. He's actually right, because he was indicating down there. That's a weird spot. I've never actually seen a ball fall down there. So there's no way he can get it. So I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna get it for him. You were right, man. And he can't even fit his head down there. So I don't blame him for not getting it. Yeah, is it down here? Oh, wow. There you go. Come on. You go down. All right. So he would have gotten it if it hadn't fallen in a hole. That's enough. I'm not going to do it again, but you guys get the point. So this is a dog that I would say has high drive, and I'm down. And I'm showing you guys an example of what that looks like, right? A lot of chase, a lot of hunt, a lot of possession, retention. These dogs are fantastic to work with because they're willing to do so much for that. When we speak about pursuit, okay, pursuit is how committed is the dog to striking the prey, to pursuing the prey? So you guys already saw me throw. Yep. I want to see that the dog shows a reasonable amount of speed and commitment in the entry to grabbing the object, right? Or grabbing whatever it is that you're saying the dog has high prey for. Out. Right? So what I want to see is that the dog is coming fast and striking with commitment. If I see a dog come and like gently take it and go, this is not an example of a dog that I would say has high drive. Definitely not extreme drive, all right? So now when we talk about the grip, again, the bite, right? How committed is the dog to taking the object and to retaining it? Now, bite and possession for me are very close. Bite, yep, right? He bites it really hard, right? He wants it. There's nothing I can physically do to get him off of it, right? And then, of course, possession retention, as we already discussed, right? This is a trained behavior. Obviously, the dog has learned to engage with me. And by the way, dogs can have high prey like he does, right? But then also have a high desire to engage with you, because he does also have high play drive. He loves to play with me. He loves to engage me. And especially if you follow the things that we do in our power play course, your dog will love to play with you too, whether they have high drive or low drive. When you mix that with high prey, it's a very exciting and combustible concoction. Let's talk about another thing that we must consider when we're evaluating the drive in the dog. How resistant is it to stress? Okay? There are many dogs that people confuse as having high drive that are just out of control. They're just hyperactive. They might like the ball, they might have mediocre drive, or they might even have what I would consider to be lower drive, but they're hyperactive and they're out of control, and they can look a lot more driven than what they truly are. When you actually teach the dog, when you put the impulse control on the dog, when you say, here's this thing you want, but you can't bite it, right? You can't bite it. You have to wait for that permission to bite it, right? That's when we'll find out how much drive does the dog truly have once there's impulse control, once there's adversity. Foos, how long will the dog work, right, for it? Will he work for 5 minutes and then get bored and say, screw this, I'm done, right? You could say some of that is training to some degree, but in many cases, a lot of it is sustained drive. How long is the drive sustained for, right? Platz. Steh. Platz. Es. Platz. There's a lot of dogs. They act like they have a lot of drive, but the second they have to work for more than a couple of minutes, they're done. Can their drive withstand heat? Can their drive withstand physical discomfort, pain, excessive exhaustion, barriers, mental and physical barriers? Oh no, the ball is somewhere scary, like it's in a tunnel. Is he willing to go in a tunnel? Is he willing to do something that he's uncomfortable with in order to satisfy his drive? This is how we assess whether a dog has high drive or not. So it's not whether the dog will just play with you with the ball. It's not whether or not the dog will just, play a game of fetch. There's a lot more to it than that when we're truly looking at drive, evaluating drive, and saying a dog has low, high, medium, extreme drive. All right, guys, now we're going to talk about extreme dogs. So as you guys can see, this is Chico. Now, what is the difference between extreme and high drive? I think a lot of people can get it a little bit twisted. It can be a little bit confusing, especially if you don't have maybe a lot of experience with working dogs. Basically, take everything that a high drive dog has and turn it up another level or two. Now, you can already see here, look at the paw, right? You see that paw that is up? Now, this is a prey behavior. If you guys have ever watched canines in the wild, when they're stalking something, what you'll see them do is stalking is part of a prey behavior, right? You'll see that they're stalking, they're moving very slowly, their body is tense, and they'll often stop with one paw in the air. Certain breeds of dog are very notorious for it, for instance, like the German Shorthair Pointer. And as you should understand with prey drive, what we've done, whether it's with the Border Collie, the German Shorthair Pointer, the Malinois, the German Shepherd, all of these breeds, I have to be careful. As you can see, he's already destroying the ball. See, I can leave Gage alone with the ball, and he's not going to wreck it. With Chico, in 3 minutes, that ball will be gone. He will have it in small pieces, and I have to always be careful. Sorry, I got distracted. With prey, what you have to understand is we have taken various subcomponents of prey drive, and with certain breeds of dog, okay, we have hyper-exaggerated that specific component. So for instance, with the German Shorthair Pointer, they've exaggerated the hunting behavior and the stalking behavior of the dog while de-emphasizing the dog's striking, biting, and possession, right? Because for them, the dog needed to hunt for the bird and then indicate that they found the bird with the stalking behavior. Sometimes, we'll use pursuit and striking for the flushing of the bird, but really the most important thing was the location and the point so that the hunter, could flush the bird and shoot the bird, right? That's an example. With the Border Collie, right, you can see a lot of stalking and pursuit behavior, but again, the dogs will bite, but it's not the same kind of biting that you'll see, for instance, with dogs that we use for apprehension work, like the German Shepherd, like the Malinois, where the dog needs to really commit and be able to withstand. Yep. The dog needs to be able to commit and really withstand a lot of pressure. Right? A lot of pressure down so that the dog can get through fighting with a man if necessary, right? Think about an apprehension scenario. The dog either needs to protect the handler, or the dog, if it's a police dog, needs to locate a suspect, needs to hunt the suspect down, needs to chase the suspect, needs to strike the suspect, bite the suspect, and retain the suspect until the other officers arrive on scene. And in many cases, the suspect can be combative, the suspect can be high on drugs, and the dog needs to be able to withstand all of that. Let's talk a little bit, again, about extreme drive. Look at the stiffness of the body, right? He will often drool and shake, and this is behavior that this is behavior that you will see with extreme drive dogs. He's fairly safe, right? And by safe, I mean, regardless of the dog's intentions, Chico's generally a fairly honest dog. He's not a malicious dog. Going back to whether a dog is extreme drive or not, some people will be like, oh, they'll see Chico, he's under control, he's listening, he's following instructions. He might show extreme drive if you know what you're looking at. But if you don't, and you're used to just seeing dogs that are out of control, dogs that are engaging in resource guarding behaviors or bratty behaviors, people will often say, oh, well, that dog's not extreme because I've seen an extreme dog and that dog was trying to bite their handler over the ball. No, drive in the truest sense of the form is drive for this, right? Drive for the ball, or drive for the sleeve, or drive for whatever it is that you need the dog to have drive for. Drive for the man, okay? So when we train a dog like this, we will train him that the man is something that he can bite. And Chico will bite for real, but he's not a malicious dog. He's an honest dog, right? And a lot of people, again, going back to what I was saying previously, they will look at a dog, right, that has a lot of maybe, let's say, behavioral problems, impulse control issues because the handler doesn't know what they're doing or the training is not very good, and they will start to associate that with extreme drive. And while extreme drive can certainly come with those problems alongside it, that doesn't actually make a dog extreme. I've seen a lot of dogs that will bite you over a ball and that have a lot of impulse control and behavioral issues that are mediocre actually in drive. Especially once you remove those behaviors, you will see the true drive of the dog. With extreme dogs, You have to be careful. You have to be careful for the dog's sake and for your sake. People say, what's the difference with an extreme dog and, let's say, a high drive dog? The extreme dog, you are always in danger of losing a finger, right? And the dog is always in danger of injuring himself. Remember how I talked about true drive being resistant to stress? Well, that implies also self-preservation, right? All of us have self-preservation. That's why if I told you, jump up in the air and, fall on the ground head first, it would be almost impossible for you to force yourself to do that, because subconsciously, even if intellectually you want to do it, subconsciously you know that will really hurt you. Dogs with high drive will very often break their teeth going after a ball. Dogs with high drive will very often injure themselves. So for instance, look at him, his body is straight like this. If I put the ball here and told him to take it, right? That would be a huge mistake, because look at all the force he's going to put on that outside leg as he explodes this way. Now, if he didn't have extreme drive, he'd just turn around and grab the ball. But what he's going to do is he's going to use every muscle in his body and go 100 miles an hour and come and hammer the ball at that angle, putting way too much pressure on that offside cruciate ligament. So I have to be very cognizant of things like this with this extreme dog. With Gage, I can do that because he will still come fast, but he won't really hurt himself. Even here in the heeling position, I have the temptation to always throw the ball that way, right? And the dog pivots to the left side and goes to grab the ball. With him, I have to just drop the ball in his mouth because, again, I have to be hyper careful. He injured himself a couple of times when I forgot and would just throw the ball. And that push that he does and pivot going 110 miles an hour, even on a really nice surface like this, just injuries are so likely. I have to be careful to never drop the ball on cement, because if I drop the ball on cement, in his drive, in his intensity for the ball, he could smash out all his teeth getting the ball. And I know multiple dogs that have done this. So with extreme dogs, everything is just heightened. So if you don't know what you're doing, it can be dangerous. You can get hurt, the dog can get hurt. And even if you do know what you're doing, the best way to explain it is like, for those of you that have ever driven like a performance car, right? It's that same feeling, that adrenalized, like, oh, like we're on the brink of losing control here. We're going 150 miles an hour on a windy road, That is the feeling. So, out, right? I really enjoy working with these dogs. Foos. But if you don't know what you're doing, this is not the type of dog for you. So you might say, what is the use of an extreme dog? Typically, these types of dogs have a lot to offer in terms of breeding. The very nature of extreme means it's uncommon, right? So even when you breed this dog with another dog that has good drive, the likelihood that the puppies have this same level of drive is still not particularly high, right? When we're looking at things like extreme, high, low, medium, right? When we're looking at ways to quantify and categorize something, especially drive, we cannot say something that is common is extreme. Here. Foos. It's important to understand that, especially in breeding, something that is abnormal, something that is extreme, can have great use. And this is the type of dog that has a lot to give in terms of breeding. So in terms of end use, again, speaking to what I was saying, you see how the dog just skids on the ground like he's going 100 miles an hour. There's very little self-preservation there when he's going after something like a ball, when he's going after the decoy or anything like that. Now, in terms of end use, is this the kind of dog that would do well in a police department? Only with a handler that was very experienced. Is this the kind of dog that would do well in the average sport dog situation with an average sport dog handler? No, it's just way too much dog, right? But luckily, as I said already, extreme by its very definition is uncommon, and there's not so many of these out there. There's a lot of people, I think, again, that miscategorize their dog as being extreme when really the dog is simply out of control and they just don't have the ability to train it or understand what they're looking at. But when you have seen a lot of these working dogs, when you've worked with a lot of these working dogs, anybody that's in the know, when they see this dog and they see me training with this dog and they watch the work that this dog is able to do, they're always like, oh my goodness, that's a special dog, right? But again, this is not a dog for the vast majority of people. Even a dog like Gage, right? You have to be careful, right? You have to be careful. Like, it's not for everybody. True drive, guys, is an intrinsic state, all right? It is not, a lot of people are like, how did you make Chico like that? I didn't make him like this, right? I didn't make him this driven. I didn't make him this crazy, this intense in everything that he does. He's so intense that you're not even here in person, and the intensity shines through in every video that I make with this dog, right? So true drive, guys, is an intrinsic state, and it occurs when the sperm hits the egg. It is not something that you can manufacture. Again, using certain training techniques, like some of the techniques we talk about in our power play course and in various other courses that we have, you can make a dog enjoy working for food more or working for a toy more and be able to engage with the food and with the toy in a way that is productive for the training that you're doing. But let's not confuse that with true drive in the truest sense of the word. True drive should require minimal to no exterior stimulus. I shouldn't need to be like, hey buddy, I got food, would you like to eat it? He should be like, food, okay, I'm gonna do everything I can to get that food, right? That's true drive. True drive shouldn't be like, hey man, I got this tug, like, let's play, please, let's play. That's not true drive, guys, right? That's, again, something that you can do to create a more meaningful relationship with your dog, but that's not drive in the truest sense of the word. Now, if a dog has higher extreme drive, I think one of the biggest tropes that I hear perpetuated on the internet is dogs that have high drive or even extreme drive must be absolute hell to live with, only if they're understimulated and poorly trained. If you don't know what you're doing in terms of stimulating these working dogs appropriately, if you don't know what you're doing in terms of training these working dogs appropriately, and no, that doesn't mean the dog must have 3 hours of exercise. That's absolute horseshit. Guys, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I lived in a townhouse with 2 high drive working Malinois for many years, right? And I never had any issues, and I walked them like twice a day for 30 minutes, and sometimes we'd go and train and sometimes we wouldn't. So this idea that you have to, oh, he's got extreme drive, I gotta go and like blow him out for 3-4 hours every day, I gotta take him for, you know, a 10-kilometer jog every day. Absolute horseshit, you don't, right? You just need to train the dog and stimulate it properly. For instance, of the 3 dogs I showed you, this dog is probably the easiest to live with. He's the one that is able to chill the most, right? The dog, you know, a dog being active, a dog having, you know, hyperactive behavior is not necessarily cohabitating with drive. Drive and those behaviors are not always together. So I want you to understand that is drive does not imply that the dog necessarily has a higher resting energy level than a dog that doesn't have drive. So guys, drive is a topic I could talk about for hours and hours and hours, and I think this video has gone on too long already. But I hope at the end of this, you guys understand just a little bit more about what drive is in working dogs and how to evaluate if a dog truly has drive or if it does not. All that being said, guys, I hope you guys understand drive a little more, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys on the next one.